Now, Wrath of the Lich King Classic came with some very welcome class changes and quality of life improvements, but honestly I would argue that Cataclysm comes with even better changes. So it's time to begin my new series, Tour de Cataclysm, covering the ins and outs of the expansion. We'll begin with class changes, move on to all of the new exciting abilities, and furthermore, additional added features and major changes that the expansion provides. I think people have really forgotten just how big of a game revamp Cataclysm was. Before we move on guys, I don't think people fully realise just how good remote PC software has revolutionised in the past few years. Why am I mentioning this? Well, imagine if you could level your WoW characters and farm gold while sitting at a bus stop or waiting for the girlfriend that you don't have to put her makeup on. Well, these days you can so easily with the app Sun Remote. It very easily connects to your PC. You can turn your PC on remotely also with your phone with the smart plug they provide. And then you can use the specially made World of Warcraft keyboard to control your character. I've been doing this while I've been on holiday, literally sat on a sun lounger, fishing up lot boxes on my hardcore character for gold. I've also been using the app so that I can log into the hardcore servers earlier in the day to dodge the long server queues. As you can see, it's very easy to get the World of Warcraft keyboard set up and it's totally customizable. I was able to easily control my character and press all of my keybinds while leveling up my hardcore character. The app can now also fully control your PC, which is very useful to me the other day actually, because again I was away from home when Starfield released, which was absolutely no problem because I just turned my PC on, downloaded it from Steam, and it was ready to play the second I was home. It also turned your mouse on your desktop to the touchscreen, so it's very easy to use it for work, and you also get shortcuts to key functions like copy and paste with a simple button press. All you gotta do is download it to your PC, and then get the app on the App Store on your phone, link them together, and Bob's your uncle. There's a free trial where you can fully test the app's features, and if you end up liking the app, you can get the game version. It works both on Android and iOS, and you can find all the information in the description down below about getting that free 7-day trial. The thing I've always loved the most about playing a Death Knight is its unique dot management. It was teased to us in Wrath with Glyph of Disease and Skurstrike, as at one point during a previous patch that we didn't actually see in Wrath Classic, it was viable to use these glyphs since using Glyph of Disease rolled on any damage increasing buffs to your diseases, but then they nerfed it, and Glyph of Skurstrike was never optimal either. But this system was redefined in Cataclysm with the Festering Strike ability. This wasn't a DPS loss to use, and extended the duration of your dots, so the idea being to buff your dots with as much strength as possible early on in a fight, and then keep those dots rolling for the whole fight with their increased damage with the ability Festering Strike. Balanced Druids will be happy to know their Eclipse mechanic is much more elegant and refined. They actually get a new UI element that's very simple to understand. The more you use arcane spells, the more the slider goes to the sun, and then therefore buffs nature damage. So the playstyle is all about maintaining the balance by switching between nature and arcane spells. By the way guys, if you are raiding in the game right now, I've made this really big spreadsheet of all the best weak auras for passing in the game, and this will be updated for Cataclysm for when it is released. All you gotta do is subscribe to the channel and check out my subscriber only video. The biggest change to Hunter is obviously the removal of mana. People have a love or hate relationship with this change. On one hand, it's nice to not worry about running out of mana, but it can be irritating having to wait for focus before you can use an ability, because that's much like a rogue's playstyle. Overall, I think it does fit the class fantasy of playing a hunter much better. Having a mana mad just doesn't feel right. In Cataclysm, Mage get the greatest gift known to Azeroth. It's probably the most satisfied you can possibly feel by playing World of Warcraft with a simple AoE, trick and rotation. Now let me explain how this works. First of all, the impact talent has been reworked. Instead of having a chance to stun on a fire blast, it now has a chance on all of your damaging abilities to proc a new fire blast with its cooldown reset, and then this one will stun the target. But the most interesting thing about this is that it will spread all of your dots to every mob within 12 yards. On top of this, combustion has been reworked into a dot. The damage of this dot is based on all of your other dots combined, and this can also be spread. So the idea is to use combustion with a pyroblast ignite. The pyro dot with the living bomb will spread to all multiple targets close by, and then you can also watch those living bombs explode later. Words don't really do it justice, but this classic preach video definitely does. The Paladin gets a new cool resource system in Cataclysm called Holy Power. It stacks 3 times and can either be used for damage increasing buffs, buffing your abilities, or for healing. Protection Paladin, for example, they need to generate Holy Power now to use Shield of the Righteousness. That does mental single target damage when stacked 3 times, and it's obviously a great threat generator. Rat Paladin will mainly use Holy Power for the ability Inquisition and Templar's Verdict. Honestly, it's basically making a Paladin more like a rogue. You have damaging abilities that consume Holy Power and a buff that you need to maintain. But you do at least now have a good instant heal called Word of Glory that you can use on the move. So one of the most welcome changes that priests and warlocks will appreciate is how dots all benefit from crit and haste by default now. It's not a talent or anything like that, it's just built into the game. This means you will scale properly with gear upgrades, and the days of playing a Shadow Priest in TBC where gear upgrades feel so small are totally gone. Fade has also been reworked to actually do something in the game. The problem with Fade is how it drops your threat, but when it fell off you would gain all the threat back. Well, now there's a talent that actually makes Fade remove movement impairing effects, much like the Rogue's Sprint talent. The Rogue has a small but very welcome quality of life change. You no longer have to be targeting an enemy or a dead enemy to use Slice and Dice. So the situations where you leave combo points on a dead target that you want to use on Slice and Dice will be much less irritating. One thing elemental shamans have been desperate for is a much more solid, staple AoE ability. It always feels kind of lame when you have to carry on with your single target rotation between the cooldowns of Chain Lightning. But the Ellie Shaman will finally get the Earthquake ability in the Cataclysm, and we should get its final 4.3 patch form. You see, Earthquake switched from a channeled ability like Blizzard to a casted spell more like Flame Strike, but its damage was nerfed by 40%, but then in the last patch it got buffed by 75%, so it's happy days. Warlock has always been an outstanding class, but one of the big turn-offs to people is the soul shard system. Having to clog up your bag space with an item just to use some of your abilities is obviously a pain in the backside. Luckily, this system is totally reworked in Cataclysm. Now soul shards are more like a resource system. You have a maximum of 3 on your character frame, and they can be generated by still using the Drain Soul ability when an enemy dies. So if a boss doesn't have adds, you'll have to be very mindful on how you're going to use your Soul Burn ability. Soul Burn will consume a Soul Shard to buff your abilities. For example, you can reduce the cast time on Drain Life by 50%, you can cause Seed of Corruption to also spread corruption to every single target close by when it explodes, or you can allow your Summon Demon abilities to be instant. Now, I have a lot of experience playing a warrior in Cataclysm, as it's what I play during my pre-production of my big Cataclysm review. You can go and check that out, by the way. I have absolutely no idea how a Cataclysm video managed to get 600,000 views, but apparently that's a thing, and I really do appreciate the crazy support on that video, by the way. But anyway, there's a number of things that I liked about the warrior. I like how damage is much more focused on burst abilities now rather than sustained melee weapon damage. That goes for all melee DPS actually. Your abilities will feel way beefier and more impactful. Heroic Strike has also been turned into an instant cast ability, but the thing I found the most satisfying was how Thunderclap spread your rend to all nearby targets. This really is going to be the expansion of dot spreading abilities. Those multi-target cleave boss fights are going to be extremely fun for the classes that can spread dots. To be honest, with this video we've barely scratched the surface of all the class changes coming in Cataclysm. There's so many new class abilities to cover and many more intricacies. Most classes are definitely going to feel very different. All specs will feel more unique because they will have their iconic classic abilities, Warlock, for example, will have more unique spec-specific methods of AoE rather than just every spec just spamming Seed of Corruption, and the same goes for Mage in that regard also actually. I will cover every class in more detail with their own standalone videos in the future. Trust me, everything you need to know about Cataclysm will be covered in this series, so be sure to stay tuned. Be sure to also check out my second channel where I will be very soon releasing a new mod list for the Elder Scrolls Oblivion that adds over 200 hours of content, and if you can believe it, the game is actually stable and playable. Actually bonkers. So be sure to check that one out in the future. But anyway, my name is Metagoblin, until my next video. Ciao.